Mr. Deputy Chairman, do we have a quorum? As we resume, Head 12, Public Service Appeal Board. Head 12, Public Service Appeal Board, 3,380,260. We'll start over. Head 12, Public Service Appeal Board, $3,380,260. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief statement, no more than 5 minutes. Mr. Minister.
Mr. Chairman, the Public Service Appeal Board essentially deals with appeals of decisions made by the Public Service Commission. Basically, that's it.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $3,380,260 for Head 12 Public Service Appeal Board stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $3,380,260 for Head 12 Public Service Appeal Board is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 57. Item 001, General Administration, page 57. Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 57. Item 001, General Administration, pages 57 and 58. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, page 58. Item 001, General Administration, page 58. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies, page 58. Item 007, Households, page 58. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $3,380,260 for Head 12 Public Service Appeal Board stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $3,380,260 for Head 12 Public Service Appeal Board now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Mr. Minister, and thank you, senior executives of the Public Service Appeal Board. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Yes, members, Registrar, thanks for coming. Tax Appeal Board and your assistant. Head 09, Tax Appeal Board. Head 09, Tax Appeal Board, $5,917,700. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Tax Appeal Board is established for the purpose of exercising its jurisdiction conferred upon it by the Tax Appeal Board Act. The board consists of a chairman and such other members as may be appointed, one of whom is the vice chairman. It is a superior court of record, which means that appeals of decisions made by the Tax Appeal Board would go to the Court of Appeal. Its mandate is to look at appeals of decisions of the Board of Inland Revenue and other persons who perform functions under the Income Tax Act.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $5,917,700 for Head 09 Tax Appeal Board stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $5,917,700 for Head 09 Tax Appeal Board is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads, and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. So recurrent expenditure book, subhead 01, personal expenditure, page 49. Item 001, general administration, page 49. Subhead 02, goods and services, page 49. Item 001, general administration, pages 49 and 50. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 51. Item 001, general administration, page 51. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies, page 51. Item 007, households, page 51. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $5,917,700 for Head 09 Tax Appeal Board stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $5,917,700 for Head 09 Tax Appeal Board now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Mr. Minister, and thank you, Registrar and other officer. Thanks for coming. Page 243 of recurrent expenditure booklet. 243, recurrent expenditure. And we shall now proceed to Head 38, Environmental Commission. Good day, Registrar, right, of the Environmental Commission and your two colleagues. Welcome to the Parliament Chamber. Head 38, Environmental Commission. $7,359,790. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Mr. Minister.
Sure. The Environmental Commission of Trinidad and Tobago is empowered by the Environmental Management Act of 1995. It is also a superior court of record, and it was established to settle environmental disputes. The purpose of the Commission is to hear and determine appeals from the decision or action of the Environment Management Authority, EMA, applications for deferment of decisions by the EMA to undertake certain emergency response activities, and applications by the EMA for environmentally sensitive areas or environmentally sensitive species and administrative civil assessments. Commission comprises a chairman, a deputy chairman, and 3 other members who are part-time. The members are appointed on the basis of their knowledge and experience.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $7,359,790 for Head 38 Environmental Commission stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $7,359,790 for Head 38 Environmental Commission is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We will now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, and we are in the recurrent expenditure book, page 243, subhead 01, personal expenditure, item 001, general administration, page 243, and I'll recognize firstly Kuvanote.
Goods and services, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get to that. And you point up here, same goods and services, right? Subhead 02, goods and services, same page 243, item 001, general administration, and we're on pages 243 and 244. Member for Kuvanote.
Thank you, Chair. Line item 16, contract employment. I'm seeing an increase by 180,000 for the 2020 estimate. Can you explain that increase? How many positions for contract employment?
This one.
Minister, we're on page 244. Just
244,
for clarity.
yeah.
Contract 16.
Improve the ICT, communications, and public education performance of the Commission.
Approximately how many positions?
They are looking at approximately 3 to 4 persons.
3 to 4 persons.
Okay, and line item 22, short-term employment. I'm seeing another increase by 188,000 for 2020.
It's the same thing.
It's the same, when you take the two together, and if you look at it carefully, you'll see the original 2019 estimate was 700. So it's the same as the original 2019. And we would
Of which
be
only
based,
512,000 were
it would be based
utilized.
on what actually happened during the year. Short-term employment, as you know, is a temporary thing.
Okay, and fees, line item 23 for fees, I'm seeing an increase by $332,000. What type of fees are these?
Minister?
Look at the original 2019 estimate, it was 324. So
Right,
this
and
is very
nothing was-
close to the original 2019 estimate.
Yeah, but what type of fees? What type of fees?
What
Legal
I'm
fees?
told, it's law research fees.
Law research fees.
Subscriptions to LexisNexis and so on.
Okay, thank you.
Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 245, item 001, general administration, page 245. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies, page 245, item 007, households, page 245. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $7,359,790 for Head 38 Environmental Commission stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $7,359,790 for Head 38 Environmental Commission now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Registrar, and your senior executives. Thanks for coming. What book are we going to now? Expenditure booklet. And we're on page 337. 337. Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development. Welcome, Madam Minister, and welcome to your Permanent Secretary and other senior executives of the Planning and Development Ministry. Welcome to the Parliament Chamber. Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development, $302,454,000. I will now invite the Minister of Planning and Development to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Madam Minister.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the work of the Ministry of Planning and Development is centered around government's National Development Thrust. In an effort to meet our mandate, the Ministry provides technical support and advice, policy guidance, and development to all ministries and agencies aimed at achieving the strategic goals and objectives outlined under the 5 thematic areas in the National Development Strategy, Vision 2030. Mr. Chairman, the importance of the nation's human resource capabilities in realizing the goals of Vision 2030 cannot be underscored. The government has identified a number of key national economic sectors for development towards diversification and growth and development. Therefore, it is prudent that there be a concomitant building of the human resource capacity to support the expansion program. The Ministry has been mandated to undertake national manpower planning and has commenced research in this area with the overall aim to make recommendations that can lead to the development of a coordinated national manpower planning system. This system would link labor demand and supply through relevant, timely labor market information whilst facilitating the future skills development needs of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Chairman, the government remains committed to the preservation of the environment and climate action by addressing issues as it pertains to climate change vulnerability and risk assessments. The Ministry, therefore, has completed the National Protected Areas Systems Plan in 2018, which placed emphasis on 136 protected areas covering close to 20,000 square kilometers of protected land and marine space in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Chairman, I would like to state that my team, including our supporting statutory boards and agencies, and this includes the EMA, the IMA, Kariri, CDA, the Green Fund, the Advisory Town Planning Panel, and the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago, all under the Ministry of Planning and Development, have proven and remain committed to working assiduously toward achieving the goals and objectives of the government as we continue to create stability, strength, and growth in our economy for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Chairman, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, the Deputy Permanent Secretaries, and all the other members of staff of this ministry for the work that they have done over the last 4 years. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Minister. Honourable members, the question is that the sum of $302,454,000 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development, stand part of the schedule. Honourable members, the sum of $302,454,000 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads, and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. The draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the statutory boards and similar bodies, and of the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of development program. We shall now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. And as I mentioned, we are in the recurrent expenditure booklet, subhead 01, personal expenditure, page 337, item 001, general administration, page 337. Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The first item there, 001, General Administration, speaks to an increase of $7.5 million in personal expenditure. It mentions on the explanation, includes provision for vacant posts with incumbents. Is this going to include, in addition, any new hirings, and what are these likely to be for?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, the amount will facilitate payment for new appointments. It will also facilitate payments for promotions, and the ministry is in the process of filling 93 vacancies for the following divisions. The EPPD division, we should be filling 3 posts. The NTU, 15 posts. The CSO, 56 posts. Legal, 3 posts. IT, 2 posts. Communications, 3 posts. The SCPP, 3 posts. The Basel Convention, 1 post. The IDCD, 1 post. Human Resources, 4. And the EDF, 2.
Okay.
Member.
Yes.
Indicate
Minister.
that the amount will facilitate allowances for the positions of PSs and DPSs, government's contribution to the NIS to facilitate permanent, temporary, and acting appointments, remuneration to board members to facilitate payment of remuneration to the advisory town planning panel, the vacant posts, without incumbents. We also have provided for that. Remuneration to members of cabinet-appointed committees, salaries, allowances, government contribution to the group health insurance for monthly paid officers, government's contribution to NIS.
Okay, so all of that is included. What about, I see under technical cooperation, though, there is a decrease in the salaries and cost of living allowances. In light of what you just said,
Yeah.
how do you explain this?
With regard to the TCU, sorry, Mr. Chairman, we're in the process of restructuring the TCU to facilitate the proposed establishment of a new division called the International Development Corporation Division. What we found, Mr. Chairman, is that even though we had established the TCU, and the TCU has been in existence for quite some time, we found that the work was not pointed enough. And as a consequence of that, through the IDB, we got a consultant to examine, well, even before the IDB got involved, we got a consultant, a former permanent secretary, to examine the work of the TCU and what would be the staffing requirements. And then we got the IDB, and the CDB also gave us some assistance to examine exactly what was needed for us to be more targeted in our development thrust. And so we're restructuring TCU to afford us the ability, not only for the Ministry of Planning and Development to get more out of the technical cooperation, but indeed for the entire government service to get more strategic international cooperation and technical cooperation as we develop Trinidad and Tobago.
Will part of the focus then of this unit have to do with the funds that are available for climate change related matters?
That would be separate. But because the international thrust now is mainly climate change matters, of course it would also be part of the focus. Because as you know, it would not have been under your tenure, but the environmental division is under the Ministry of Planning and
Yes.
Development now.
So that,
So,
I'm
yes.
just asking, I know it's not a line item, but I'm deriving it out of this line
Yes.
item. Does that mean therefore that you will have a special unit under environment or a special project under environment having to do with climate change matters?
We already have that.
Right, okay. Okay.
Item, same point?
No, I'm going on, are we on 004? Or
No,
we
we
not
come into
yet?
that.
Right.
Let me just announce it. Item 003, Technical Corporation, page 337. Item 004, Central Statistical Office, page 338. And I give way to you, Member for Caroni Central.
Yes, okay. For the CSO here, you have an increase in salaries. I appreciate that. And it says very clearly, includes provision for vacant posts with incumbents. Again, are these going to include new hirings in the context of what you are seeking to do with the National Statistical Institute?
Okay, this specific one that you're asking about would be to facilitate the payment of the awards of increments and arrears for fiscal 2020 arising from the regularization of the CSO. And that was done in August 2015 under
Yeah.
you.
Okay, okay, so this
also-
this is now being done.
Sorry?
So it's been,
Go ahead, Member.
Go ahead.
no, I'm asking, are they now being remunerated for the first time?
No,
Okay, it's
but
ongoing.
yes,
Right,
ongoing. It's
Okay,
ongoing.
okay.
You good there, Member?
Yes,
Right. Item 005, Urban and Regional Planning Division, page 338. Proceed, Member.
01. In this situation here again, I see a decrease. Could the minister just elaborate on that?
Member, we are of the view that the funds here will be adequate for the needs for 2020.
Okay. Are there any special projects in urban and regional planning?
Well, there's the wide project that I was talking about yesterday with the town and country planning, with the local government.
The other ministries.
And trade and industry that we spoke about yesterday. And we're also doing another project within town and country to digitize the records.
Okay. Minister, what's happening? I mean, I don't know if you'll take this question in the context of this line item, but in terms of what you're doing with ease of doing business support and the permits and so on with the other ministries that you mentioned, I mean, part of that is part of the decentralization and devolution process that comes from PAF, right?
Sorry.
Minister,
Mr. Chairman.
You want the line
Mr.
item?
Chairman,
You want to be
Could
specific?
Could we deal with this under the development program? I think it
Development
would be
program,
more-
okay.
Yeah.
So it will be considered
Oh,
under development
okay,
program. Let's
I
make a
will-
note, Member.
If it arises again, I will.
Okay.
Any other question there under
No.
005?
No.
Okay, so we now go to item 006, Green Fund Executing Unit, page 339. Member, Caroni Central?
Yeah, the only question I would ask there would be about the Green Fund itself, and ask if there have been applications and awards for green funding under this particular unit. And
Minister.
if the minister could describe what they might be.
Okay. Yes, there have been, the board has been meeting consistently, but what we have found with regard to the Green Fund, and we are working on changing this, is that we have been going out to communities, to schools, to indicate what the Green Fund does. And what we have been finding is that the application process is a bit convoluted, and consequently, we're in the process of changing that so that people can more easily access the funding. In addition to that, we have now reached a point where Tobago can access the Green Fund. You will recall that there was a court matter involving the THA and their inability to access the Green Fund. So that has been resolved, and we're working very closely with the THA to ensure that they can access the Green Fund. But the main issue was that the forms and the requirements were a bit convoluted, and perhaps the level of the requests was too high for in some instances, so that not enough people who have very good projects are able to access the Green Fund. So we're working on making that change.
Okay. I'm fine.
And we now have 3 new applications before us.
Carney East, member.
I don't know, thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, I don't know whether the answer might be forthcoming here, but when this unit goes out to educate the population, to try and get some people interested in utilization of the funds for the benefit of the country, what fund, where are we in terms of the Green Fund? I don't know if this is a question for you or the Minister of Finance. And where is that Green Fund housed, the funding for that?
The Green Fund is, like many other funds, housed in the Ministry of Finance. So even though the unit is in the Ministry of Planning and Development, the unit in the Ministry of Planning and Development is the operational unit. But to get the funding, an application has to be made by the Minister of Planning once the project is approved by the Minister of Planning to the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little reluctant to ask the questions, but I think to answer.
Would you be member? You're getting your answer?
Yeah, no, but I don't want to. The flow of it, yes. The question is, people pay the Green Fund. Does that go to a separate fund held separately, or it goes into the consolidated fund?
It's a separate, the Green
Minister?
Fund is a separate fund.
And it's held?
Yes.
Well, I don't want to ask this
And-
publicly,
and
but
that
what's
was-
the value now? What it stands as?
You know the amount? Can provide that information, I don't know. I mean, we do know, you recall about the mortgaging of the fund, but
I can't recall.
you can't remember?
No.
Okay. It was maxed out on the,
Thanks for the answers, members. Thanks. Appreciate the answers. Thanks, Minister of Finance. Item 008, Project Planning and Reconstruction Division, page 339. Item 009, Environmental Policy and Planning Division, page 339. Members, you all are with me here? Caroni Central, you all with me here? Nice. Subhead 02, we now move on to Goods and Services, page 340. I don't want to have to go back, Madam Minister. Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 340. Item 001, General Administration, page 340, Caroni Central.
Okay. I draw attention, Minister, to item 16, contract employment, and there is an increase. And may I ask why and, what you are likely to do with it?
increase was to facilitate the payment of salaries and allowances as a result of the fact that we filled vacant
Vacancies.
contract positions. And also after the CPO had looked at sometimes you employ people and you give a interim salary and then the CPO gives you the salary. After the CPO had looked at some of the salaries, it was higher than what the
Increases.
ministry had paid. And so it's to bring the salaries up to the terms and conditions as stated by
Required.
the CPO.
Okay, 34, University Graduate Recruitment Program. Could I just want to confirm that your ministry also did not hire, and I know the minister already said that there is no connection between this particular allocation and OJTs. I just wanted to ask if you are going to hire people this year, you think, under this group.
Well, I think the Minister of Finance indicated exactly what happened with this particular program.
Yeah, I'm clear.
But given the fact that it is a program that is not closed, we have put funding against the line item so that once we can hire,
So you
we
may
do
or may
have
not.
money. That is true. But let me also indicate that, like several other ministries, we have been using the OJT program also. And as you would know, we also use short-term hirings depending on the project.
Sure.
Or depending on the needs of the ministry.
Okay, janitorial services, I see an increase also. Any reason?
This is
37.
because we have offices in Towers D, level 17, and Tower C, and also the offices that we have at Capitol Plaza and Nicholas Tower. And the fact is, Nicholas Tower level 22, and the fact is that there was not full payment made in 2019. So we have
You have to catch
to
up.
catch up, yes.
65, now you have a quite significant increase there, 321,000. And for expenses for cabinet-appointed bodies, do you know what these are going to be? Or you're just making a provision in
Well,
anticipation?
we do have the advisory town planning panel.
Okay,
And what they have been doing is making site visits. So they go out to site visits. So sometimes we have to pay for the expenses when they go out and the daily operational expenses for the panel members and the secretariat. And we have established some committees under Vision 2030 and the UN SDGs. So
all right, okay.
hence the increase.
Okay, so there's a committee to monitor,
Sorry.
there's a committee to monitor achievement of the SDGs? Or is it a different role?
Well, it's not just to monitor, but to implement the SDGs and to implement Vision 2030.
Okay.
This is a recent development.
Yeah, well,
Because-
yeah, I see
because-
it's new money, so.
Yes,
Right.
because next year we are intending to do our voluntary report to the UN on our achievements of the SDGs. So we needed to have a committee established to assist us with that.
Okay, then.
You okay, member?
I'm fine,
Fine.
sir.
So we move on to item 002, Library Service Unit, page 341. Item 003, Technical Corporation, page 341. Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Minister, under contract employment, I see no allocation for 2018 or 19. If you could just explain to us what you will be doing with 500,000 as it relates to technical corporation.
Madam
Yeah,
Minister.
I'm seeing it, sir. The allocation is to facilitate salaries for contract positions of business analysts that have been recently hired in the same new unit, the International Development Corporation unit. So we have done some hiring there of recent vintage. So we needed to have the money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 004, Central Statistical Office, page 342. Item 005, Urban and Regional Planning Division, page 343. Carney Central,
Yeah, I just want to, this contract employment 16, okay, is that simply contract officers in the ministry? Okay,
And we thought that that would be enough to maintain what we already have.
okay. All right.
Item 005, Urban and Regional Planning Division, page 343. Item 006, Green Fund Executing Unit, page 344. Item 008, Project Planning and Reconstruction Division, page 344, and I recognize the member for Caroni East.
Madam Minister of Planning, I'm just seeking information for my own edification. The Project Planning and Reconstruction Division, the utilization of, and the management of the Infrastructure Development Fund, IDF, does that come under there? The IDF comes under there?
Well, the IDF is another fund that really comes under the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
This unit does the development program, monitors all the different the entire development program of the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
The planning for the
Yes,
IDF and the execution?
planning, the execution. And remember that some of the funding comes from the IDF and some comes from the Consolidated Fund.
Yeah.
So this unit has to manage and assist ministries and agencies in ensuring that they actually produce what they say they will produce.
Yeah, I remember the
For the
time during
development
our
program.
administration when it was moved to planning, because
But it has been.
I think it must have,
It's a unit because of what it does that has been moved to finance, it has come back to planning, but in the main, it has been under planning because planning manages the development program of the government.
I think it's understandable. I remember going to Dr. Tiwari's when he was Minister of
Yeah.
Planning for the execution of the idea.
Yes.
So that's reasonable.
Item 009, Environmental Policy and Planning Division, page 345. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, page 345. Item 001, General Administration, page 345. Item 002, Library Service Unit, page 346. Item 003, Technical Corporation, page 346. Item 004, Central Statistical Office, page 346. Member for Caroni Central.
Just, it's not related to a line item here, but if the minister would answer, it's about the CSO.
Go ahead, let me hear it and
Yeah,
proceed.
is there an allocation specifically focused on the transition of the CSO to National Statistical Office, National Statistical Institute? Is there one?
Minister?
Under the development program.
It's under the development. All
Yes.
right, okay. All right.
I know the Minister of Finance said you were quite capable to handle it, right? So I give you the option. Wait. 005. Urban and Regional Planning Division, page 347. Item 006, Green Fund Executing Unit, page 347. Item 008, Project Planning and Reconstruction Division, page 347. Item 009, Environmental Policy and Planning Division, page 348. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies, page 348. Item 001, regional bodies, page 348. Item 002, Commonwealth bodies, page 348. Item 003, United Nations organizations, page 349. Item 004, international bodies, page 349. Item 005, non-profit institutions, page 349. Item 006, educational institutions, page 350. I recognize Shogunas East.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honourable Minister, might you be able to give us an idea as to any new developments with respect to Kariri, line item 01, for that 28 million estimate for 2020?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kariri estimates that its recurrent expenditure for fiscal 2020 will be in the order of about 58 million, and that it will earn 21 million. This will result in a budget deficit of $9.6 million, and Kariri will be seeking funding from the government to deal with this deficit.
Sure.
Item Couva South. Member, Couva South, or are you okay?
You moved on to households.
Okay, now going to households. Carney Central, we going on to households. You have a question before that?
On
Right.
households.
So item 007, households, page 350, and I'll recognize Couva South first, and then I'll come to you, Carney Central.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Minister, with respect to the settlement line item to Cane Farmers Re 2007 transition, in 2019 you had an allocation of 5 million, and you actually spent $1,737,200. 2020 again, a 5 million allocation. Could you tell us how many cane farmers that you have settled as a result of this line item, and how many are still outstanding in terms of settlements, and will this $5 million allocation fully relinquish all outstanding claims?
Okay, thank you, sir. The number of cane farmers that have accepted the tranche 1 payment is 3,057. The number of cane farmers that accepted 53% of tranches 2 and 3 is 744. The total payment made in tranche 1 is $24,582,884.08. The total tranche payment of tranches 2 and 3 is $17,220,337.19. The total expenditure incurred is $41,802,879.84.
Supplemental, Couva South, I see your mic is on. You okay?
I would like to know if there will be outstanding claims. As I said, will this $5 million allocation fully relinquish all liabilities?
As
Madam
far
Minister.
as we understand it, there have been fluctuations in the number of cane farmers who have been coming into the ministry to access their claims, and we expect that in fiscal 2020, the majority of outstanding cane farmers will come in to access their settlements. So we do expect that that will be
The number will increase?
Well, we have an increase of $3,262,800. We are anticipating that the majority of cane farmers will come in to access the payments in
And
2020.
Is there any existing matter in the courts of Trinidad and Tobago in relation to this issue?
As we know because I just want to put it on the record that it is not the Ministry of Planning and Development that is dealing with the court matter. This is being dealt with by the Office of the Attorney General. But as far as we know, because of course we will have to follow the proceedings, the next court date is October 18th. And once all the issues are fully ventilated in court, we expect clarity to be brought to this matter and that this matter will be brought to closure. Once this happens, the ministry will be in a better position to anticipate the flow of cane farmers accessing the program. Consequently, we believe that that amount is sufficient. Yes.
I'll move on to Caroni Central.
Yeah, I want to follow up. Same light item. I want to ask one short question, and then I'd like to use my time to say something. The question I want to ask is that the minister mentioned in response to Couva South that $41 million was spent on expenses related, I think, to the management of this fund. Can you indicate to me, first of all, if that is true, and secondly, what does it cover?
You want to know what is true, the 41 million figure?
Yes, whether...
Or what?
41 million.
The
Yes.
41 million.
For administrative costs, yes.
Sorry, if I said that, which I don't recall saying, it is not the management.
What
it is
is
what
it?
was paid out.
Oh, that was paid out. All
yes,
right.
because between 2014 and 2019,
a total
in
of
that
41.
period, the total paid out was $41,802,879.84.
Okay.
Not any management.
All right, okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah,
That's
because
why I said,
you would know that the management is the staff of the Ministry of Planning and Development. So it's not that we had anything set up
Okay.
other than what was there when.
no, I understood that, which is why I
Okay.
found the amount high, and now that you clarified, I mean, I'm clear.
Yeah, that's what
So,
was paid out.
Chair, with your permission, I want to say this. The minister knows that I wrote to her on this matter, and she replied to me a few days ago in which she outlined her own position, which was just articulated here, which is that the matters...
Before you continue, it is not my position. It is the position of the government of Trinidad and
Yes,
Tobago. Right, yeah.
yes. Well, I wrote to you as the minister responsible.
No, I just, yeah, because if you say it's my position, it's not my position.
I will not,
Caroni Central.
Chair, I think you know that I will not be irresponsible in any statement I make.
Members,
I think you know that
please.
for a fact, and I think the minister knows that also. All right? On this particular matter, which is a vexing matter, the reality is this. There are a number of cane farmers who have sued the government, if the minister wants me to use that term, for the monies that were due to them, which would have been a universal number of $130 million agreed by cabinet, and then disbursed according to a formula to each cane farmer, some of which was disbursed prior to 2014, and some of which, under change terms, have been accepted by some farmers. Of those matters before the court, 10 individual cases have been won by the cane farmers. And in each case where the cane farmer won, they got all the money due to them under law and under the decisions of cabinet, plus costs, which would exceed, if it were to happen for every farmer, and the court were to decide consistently, it would exceed the $130 million agreed upon. On that basis, I wrote to the Honorable Minister, because she's the minister responsible, indicating, since they are winning the cases, The government is fighting a case, having to pay lawyers. They have to pay additional costs. Why don't we settle this matter and pay the cane farmers? The minister then replied and said she could not do that because basically she did not have clarity from the court, notwithstanding the fact that cases had been decided against the Attorney General and for the cane farmers. I want to make a formal appeal here now on this matter. It is going to cost the government much, much more to continue with these things for all the cane farmers beyond the $130 million. I am asking the minister to consider the issue of a final settlement for the cane farmers under terms and conditions formally agreed by the cabinet and initially executed for the first tranche, so that we could bring this matter to a close. Because, Mr. Chairman, I want to say that one of the cane farmers who was awarded the amount requested plus costs actually died before she received the amount. And I raised in the letter as well that there was this human consideration that many of these cane farmers were old and that some of them may die in the process. And I felt that a reasonable thing to do was to do that. Now, the minister says this is a government matter, it relates to the Attorney General, but I am appealing to her as minister if she would use the resources and the opportunity of cabinet in order to allow this matter to be finally settled. And it will be to the benefit of the government and the people.
Okay, thank you. Member, I know it's not a question, but in all fairness, I'll give the minister some time to respond. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the fact of the matter is that upon coming into government, the government of Trinidad and Tobago determined that the formula that had been decided by the last cabinet was not the formula that we found fair. In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, the member for Caroni Central knows that the money that was set aside or given to the government of Trinidad and Tobago by the EU was for a specific purpose. It was not really to pay each cane farmer a specific amount of money. It was, in fact, to prepare the cane farmers for this transition out of cane. And the member knows that. However, the last government determined that they would use the money to pay each cane farmer a certain amount. Mr. Chairman, as you may know, each cane farmer, apart from getting a cash award, also got 2 acres of land. Just a minute, please.
Caroni Central, right? You were
Also
given your
got 2
hold on 1
acres
second, Minister. You had your opportunity, right? Listen, member for Kuvas South. Right? The minister is on the floor this time. After she's completed, I will determine whether we will continue.
No, but Chairman,
Listen, member,
acres of land.
member, please. Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the transition...
No, member, please.
Even before this situation, Mr. Chairman, the cane farmers got land for farming and land for house pot. Mr. Chairman, they also got retraining so that they could have entered into a different profession. Millions of dollars have been spent on settling the cane farmers, Mr. Chairman. As I said, when this government came into office, there was a certain amount of money available from the EU, and we determined that that was what was going to be used to pay the cane farmers. In this particular circumstance, several cane farmers came in and were paid. Then some cane farmers took the government to court. Mr. Chairman, the cane farmers who won on a default judgment. And it must be noted that these cases were not decided on their merits, because a default judgment, Mr. Chairman, means that the entire matter has not been ventilated. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, the substantive issue of the quantum to be awarded to the cane farmers has not yet been fully ventilated. So even if the member for Caroni Central has written me and suggested to me that because these court matters have been decided, as he put it, that we should act in a certain way, the government of Trinidad and Tobago cannot do that. And there are other matters still before the High Court, and even with a default judgment, Mr. Chairman, these could be appealed. So this matter is not fully ventilated or settled. Mr. Chairman, this government, even in its previous incarnation, has been very fair to the cane farmers. I repeat, there are several cane farmers who received over $1 million, Mr. Chairman. There are several cane farmers who also received the land, the acres for farming, and the houseboat. Mr. Chairman, this is the situation, and the settlement to the cane farmers thus far has been very fair.
All right, honorable members, again, we are in standing finance committee. It's not a debate. But I'm going to give Caroni Central your comment, and then I'll close off with the minister after. I'm not recognizing you, Couva South.
Chairman,
Caroni
I have
Central, make your comment.
Yes. Why you not recognize?
Member, please, Caroni Central.
Okay, I just want to, I don't know, based on what the minister said, I don't know if she's aware that the government, through the Attorney General's office, has already paid the checks to the 10 farmers. And in the case of the farmer in which the lady I mentioned had died, because the husband was also a beneficiary joint, that husband got the amount. But the state, through the Attorney General's office, has already paid these farmers. And the first farmer to win called me the day he got his check to say that they had, in fact, received the check. So I think that there's some kind of misunderstanding here. I am not trying here to make mischief, Mr. Chairman. I am trying to get a resolution that is reasonable. The minister talks about fairness. I want to correct two facts, first of all, which is that the cane farmers did not receive the 2 acres of land. In any instance in which a cane farmer may have at some time received 2 acres of land, that cane farmer would have been a cane farmer and probably a worker as well in Caroni Limited. It's only as a worker in Caroni Limited that you got your 2 acres of land. The cane farmers were all independent entrepreneurial farmers. And all
members on both sides. Listen, members. Caroni, 1 more minute.
Yes, I don't want to carry on with this, Mr. Chairman. I just want to close it on this note. The government has already paid out money to the farmers based on the acknowledgement of the court, on the judgment.
Right. So again, we have that information. So could we then close it off?
And what I want to ask the minister, can the government among itself resolve this matter at cabinet level and pay the farmers, please, before they die one by one?
Okay, thank you. Madam Minister, you care to make a final statement?
Mr. Chairman,
final statement on this?
Minister,
just 1 sec. Final statement on this, and then we go on to item 009, other transfers.
Mr.
Proceed.
Chairman, I think I was very clear in what I said. The cabinet has taken a certain decision. The cane farmers have decided that they are going to court, and Mr. Chairman, even in the circumstance, Madam Chairman, even in the circumstance where the last cabinet devised their own formula in circumstances where they knew full well that the money from the EU was for retraining and not to pay people individually. The EU eventually had to sign on to the agreement to sign on to this new way of using the money, Madam Chairman. And Madam Chairman, the Cabinet has taken a decision, and we stand by that decision.
Okay. Item 009, other transfers.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Item 009, other transfers. I think while I wasn't sitting here, I still hear everything. I believe the Deputy Chair indicated that we were moving on. Item 009, other transfers. Caroni Central. Item 010, other transfers abroad. We go into subhead 06, current transfers to statutory boards and similar bodies. Honourable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of statutory boards and similar bodies and of the Tobago House of Assembly. 02, Institute of Marine Affairs, page 473. Could we have a little silence, please? Member for Couva South, let's have one conversation, please. Member for Tobago West, let's have one conversation. Subhead 01, personal expenditure. Item 001, general administration. $473. Subhead 02, goods and services. Item 001, general administration, page 473 to 474. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item 007, households. 49, Chaguaramas Development Authority, page 482. Subhead 01, personal expenditure. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 02, goods and services. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases. Item 001, general administration. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies. Item 007, households. Item 009, transfers. Member for Caroni Central.
The question I want to ask, you've passed the area already, so I'm not going to ask it.
Honourable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of development program, new book, page 140. Subhead 09, Development Program Consolidated Fund. Item 001, Pre-Investment, pages 140 to 141. Member for Faizabad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, with regards to line items 007 and 008, the relocation,
Just having a little difficulty here, any member for Faizabad.
the relocation of the PTSC maintenance facilities, is that referred at San Fernando? Yes. And can you confirm that that is completed?
Sorry,
I see
repeat.
no allocation in 2020, so I'm assuming that that relocation has been completed.
It's not completed, but the thing is, it's no longer under the Ministry of Planning and Development. It's now with the UDCOT.
I see. All right. With
So
that-
you would notice that all of these projects, which is 005, implementation of San Fernando Waterfront Redevelopment Program, 006, relocation of squatters, 007, relocation of PTSC, and 008, upgrade of Plaza San Carlos, all of
Okay.
those were part of the San Fernando Waterfront project. They've been moved from planning, where it was last year, and it's with UDCOT.
Okay, thank you.
Under the Office of the Prime Minister.
Member for
Okay,
Carney
I'll answer
Central.
that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
yeah. Just a follow-up to that. So which is the executing agency?
UDCOT. But you know that UDCOT is under the Office of the Prime Minister. So UDCOT is the executing agency. Why are you looking like that?
Yes, I am confused. Yes, I am confused. So,
In the same way that UDCOT is the executing agency for the upgrade of Port of Spain,
no, I
the upgrade
understand.
of Port of
I-
Spain is under the Ministry of Planning and Development. But for the San Fernando waterfront, it's UDCOT, but under the Office of the Prime Minister.
Okay, let me ask about 003. Can you give an update on that, where we are?
I know that's your favorite project.
Well, I just asked for an upgrade.
Seismic microzonation studies in Trinidad and Tobago.
So you don't want to,
That project has been continuing, and we're in, right now, working as had been done before with UE Seismic Research Center, and we're doing workshops. We're purchasing motion sensors. There's equipment to be maintained. We have the monthly costs for the technical steering committee and data collection for the remaining areas that have to be surveyed. We also have Tobago and San Fernando to be mapped.
okay.
Madam Speaker, the seismic microzonation project deals with determining earthquake areas in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
Carney
The-
Central. Yes.
Does this, any, besides the fact that the Institute at St. Augustine is involved in this, I'm just asking this because, I mean, one of the valuable things in this is not just preparation for planning, but for disasters. Are they involved at all, the disaster preparedness people?
The committee. We have the technical steering committee, and ODPM is part of that
Part of
committee.
it, okay. All right, I'm fine with this.
Okay, so we are at item 004, social infrastructure. Honorable members, you'll be advised that this spans 3 pages, and therefore we'll take them in accordance with project groups. So at page 141 to 142, M, Central Statistical Office. Member for Carney Central.
Okay. I see no allocations for the statistics division in Tobago. Does that mean that it is now completed and established?
Yes, we have it under recurrent now.
All right, okay. Then I wanted to ask a question on the Ministry of Communications yesterday having to do with Printry, but having to do with the CSO, but I see here you have an allocation for a digital Printry. So does that mean that they have no new facilities? Is that what it is?
We purchased the digital
Right,
Printry
so you
already.
have new facilities
Yes.
there.
So
Okay.
that project is completed.
All right, and then,
Oh, by the way, I would indicate that they worked very well, and at least 70 of the PSIP books were printed using the CSO's
the
digital Printry.
well, that is good.
Yes.
Now, development of trade in services statistics. Can you explain a little bit what that is?
The trade and services statistics is a relatively new area that the CSO is going to be capturing data on. And so the allocation is to hire a consultant, database specialist, and who would establish the new database and the necessary equipment and supplies that would be relevant to this. What we had found is that with regard to getting information on the trade and services, we were not getting enough information by just using the people who were involved in the industry.
International trade.
And we felt it better if the CSO itself would go out and capture the data that was necessary.
Okay, and based on what you have here, conduct of pre-census activities for 2020, does that mean, therefore, that we would have a census starting in 2021?
That is the intention.
What's the answer, Bo?
But of course, we'll be doing the household survey and the housing and agriculture census.
Okay, I'm fine for now.
Thank you. Member for Shigona, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 055, I suspect I can see some monies have already been expended on this item. Might you be able to give us a sense as to by what time we might be able to expect the completion of the survey in 2020?
Well, we're expecting this survey is a survey of the household budget survey and the survey of living conditions.
Yeah.
It's expected to commence on the 6th of January, 2020, and end by the 5th of January, 2021.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can we go on? Member for Carinese.
Was answered. That's Minister Karen.
All right. So A, culture, pages 142 to 143. Item 0, member for Karen, Shigona, please.
When you get to 005, if I
Okay.
can ask.
Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services, pages 143 to 146, member for Shigona, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a related question on Kariri that was asked before. Honorable Minister, might you be able to give us a sense as to what is this improvement to the infrastructure and what type of equipment that you indicated before to make it very competitive and so on? Could you give us
Yeah.
a sense as to what is it, this
I don't
expenditure?
have, let me see if I have. I think I have the list here, but I can provide that
Okay,
information.
Okay, so we'll take them according to the project groups. So we know in C, which is Caribbean Industrial Research Institute. So member for Faisabad, are you in?
I think the member for Chaguanas East recognized that that project had ended, but you still want the information. What would,
So we could
okay,
see
we will
the impact.
provide it.
Right, okay.
Okay. All right. Anybody else in Caribbean and C Caribbean Industrial Research Institute? Member for Carinese Central.
This recycling of tire crumbs into asphalt mixes, Okay, what have they been able to achieve there? I see that there's a continued allocation for it. Are they able to convert it into an asphalt mix?
Phase 1 of the project was undertaken in fiscal 2019, and it involved the conduct of a pre-feasibility study for the establishment of a rubber crumb production facility and a facility that produces rubber asphalt. So it was a pre-feasibility study that was done, and the study was completed, and based on the findings, we have determined that there would be a need for a market survey for rubber crumb-based products. And the justification for the project is to mitigate the adverse environmental and health impacts
Of course.
occasioned by the improper disposal of tires. And in many instances, because of the improper disposal of tires, we get a lot of vector-borne diseases because, you know, the water settles in the tires and so on. So the objective is to promote the recycling of tires and expand the local production of products using the rubber crumb and to foster new business creations.
Yeah. So what, the phase is now to determine the market? I'm sure the market
Yes,
is
the
there.
appetite.
All right, so D, Shagrama's area development, pages 143 to 144, member for Caroni East.
I was just looking at line item 036, Madam Minister, upgrade of Shagarama's Golf Course Phase 1. I see 1.5 million was allocated, about 700,000 spent. And
Sorry,
yeah.
member, I'm not hearing you clearly.
Oh, sorry, really?
Yes.
All right. Item 036, upgrade of Shagarama's Golf Course Phase 1. 2019 estimate was 1.5 million. 668 is under revised estimate. Most likely that's what was spent. And 1 million for 2020. Is that, that would complete Phase 1 or that would overlap into Phase 2?
That is to complete Phase 1.
Phase 1.
But what we anticipate is that, given the fact that we're trying to expedite the work, we probably will need more money before the end of the year, but we're trying to expedite the work there.
Okay.
Member for Old Bruce West.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, line item 040, construction of access roads and drainage at Agro Park. If you could kindly let me know where is this Agro Park and how many kilometers of road to cover 895,000?
I'll have to give you the kilometers, but the Agro Park is within the peninsula with the intention, as you know, part of Tucker Valley has been used to grow different types of fruits and vegetables, and so using different mechanisms rather than the old mechanisms. So the Agro Park is really for that purpose.
So you're saying it's not high-tech? You're
Yes,
going like
it is.
hydroponics and so?
Well, it's
Or
various methods.
Or vertical farming?
Various methods, yes.
Okay.
Member for Caroni. Are you finished, member for Old Bruce? What? Member for Caroni Central.
Yes, 034, the police headquarters. I see there was no allocation for it. Is it still functional or is it abandoned?
No, it's still functional, but what we wanted to ensure is that the correct location was determined and the correct design. So there is the police post. The police is located, but they're located inside and not close enough to the
Entrance?
egress and access.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of that was based on electronic eyes for instance, and the ability to follow, is that still functional?
Yes, it
The
is.
technology?
Yes.
All right. And I see development of car parks. And it says 5 car parks. Is that along the entrance to Shagaramas, I'm asking?
Well, the CDA has entered into a lease agreement with the developer of the water park, the amusement park, and we're working with them on the
And who will
location of
pay
the
for the
car
car
parks.
park?
The government and the, let's see.
Okay, so there's an agreement to be established.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine, nothing
Okay.
else.
All right. So A, Administrative Services, pages 144 to 145. Member for Faisabad.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Minister, with regards to line item 049, the Integrated Public Management Information System, I know that was mentioned last year in the context of public administration. I see no expenditure in 2019, but an allocation in 2020. Can you shed some light on that?
Which is an IT server for the project planning unit within the Ministry of Planning and Development. And that is to facilitate improvements in the management of the PSIP portfolio.
I see, okay. And if I may, Madam Chair, item 056, establishment of results-based management system. Can you shed some light on that?
As we had indicated last year, we are moving to a process of being able to ensure that all the projects that we do are properly monitored and evaluated throughout the year. And so, and also that the projects that we do are in keeping with Vision 2030. So it's to fund the production of the annual report on performance, which is one of the documents that we lay in relation to Vision 2030. It is also to host the Development Evaluation Forum, and that will be in 2020, and that forum is to institutionalize results-based management as part and parcel of what the Ministry of Planning and Development does, and in addition, what the ministries in the government of Trinidad and Tobago do. And it is also for the rollout of the National Monitoring and Evaluation Program.
So it'll roll out to other ministries?
Throughout the government, because right now the Ministry of Planning and Development has been working with other ministries to ensure that they put in place monitoring and evaluation units within the ministries, because that's an essential part of ensuring that you're working in keeping with the development strategy.
That's fine. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Member for...
Minister, there were,
Just a minute, Member for Garni. Let me recognize Member for Shogunasis and then you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it okay with your permission to ask on page 145, the same heading?
Once we in Administrative Services,
Yeah,
sure.
okay. Well, I want to ask with respect to line items 099 and 100. Honourable Minister, I noticed that there were no allocations, but this is a new project. Is this new in the sense that it was done somewhere else, or is it a new national manpower plan for the country?
It's a new national manpower plan.
Was any done at all?
There had
before?
been one done several years ago, but we feel, given the changes in employment and what is needed for the development, the further development of Trinidad and Tobago, that we need a new national manpower plan.
Was that plan at all dating back to 2016 or before that?
No,
The last plan?
the last plan, no. No, the last plan was done many years ago.
Many years. In a plan like this, there must be some relationship, I think, with the Ministry of Labour. And in fact, in my looking at these figures, Ministry of Labour has a modernized labour market information system to the extent of 300,000. Is there going to be a nexus with this?
Yes. But the thing is that the Ministry of Planning and Development, part of our mandate is manpower planning. But we would not be doing this to the exclusion of other ministries. So of course, the information that the Ministry of Labor has already collected will feed into this. And the Ministry of Education has a role to play in terms of the manpower planning. But our mandate is manpower planning.
Do you have an idea by when you would want to see this completed? This is a critical
Well, it's
importance for
critical,
the...
yes, I was just gonna, I'm echoing what you're saying. It is of critical importance, so we're trying to expedite it.
You're hoping it will be finished in 2020?
Yes, we think it should be.
And Minister, might you give us some information with respect to this new implementation of after-school care? What is that about for 2 minutes?
You would recall that the Minister of Finance mentioned the daycare.
Oh, so this is the daycare center?
Yes. It's not the centers per se, but you would recall also that we had some concerns about the training and so on. This would deal with the training and also to encourage ministries to have a similar daycare system within the ministry.
All right, I just wanted to get it clear because the way it is titled here, after-school care.
Yes.
Now, when the Minister of Finance spoke,
He talked about
daycare.
Yes,
So,
well, they
different things?
overlap. No, they're not two different things.
All right, so if you could tell me
Because
Sorry.
within ministries,
Right,
it would more than likely be after-school care. But it's twofold. It's to provide for that and also to be able to provide for the training of those persons who would be doing the daycare.
okay. You have an idea as to how many you're looking at, how many of these facilities? This will be in every ministry?
Well, that's what we're intending. You may recall that some years ago, the Office of the Attorney General, when they moved to Cabildo, they set up a child care center within the ministry. So we want to make sure, and the Parliament also has it, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Member for Caroni Central. Caroni is-
It was in response to something the minister said. I just wanted to remind the minister that the monitoring and evaluation unit was always at the Ministry of Planning. It may be revamped or reorganized or whatever it is now. And it predated me when I was minister there. But when I was there, we, in fact, brought 4 reports to the Parliament on an annual basis. But we've had no reports. We had a report last year from this ministry, and we had a report of a different kind this year, but we did not, I mean, I don't think you should say you're creating a unit.
Madam Chairman, the monitoring and evaluation unit was created when I was the Minister of Planning and Development. Just saying. What I'm saying is that what we want to do is to make sure all ministries have a monitoring and evaluation unit. Because it is essential if you want to achieve your development program. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Caronies?
Line item, Minister, 064. Could you give an understanding to us about Global Services Offshoring Promotion Program, where about 5.4 million was spent already and another 4.5 allocated to be spent? What does it entail? Global Services Offshoring Promotion Program.
Now, this program was a program that was negotiated through an IDB loan done under the member for Caroni Central. And when we came into office, we had to restructure the program because not very much had been achieved by that time. So during the period when we first came into office, we restructured the program to be able to more effectively utilize the loan funding. The program is one where we have developed a hub for GSI, a GSI hub, which is the Global Services Initiative. We have had training for those persons who want to get into the international market. So we've had, what's it? Right. I'm going to read everything that I see
Just a
here.
short thing for understanding.
It is a loan agreement for the Global Services Promotion Program between the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the IDB. And this was signed in January 2014 in the amount of $18 million. In 2018, Cabinet agreed to a rescoping of the loan in order to utilize the funds, and a portion of the uncommitted and undisbursed loan funds were cancelled. The loan closes in November 2019. The key deliverables, and we had to rescope because the funds were not utilized, but we were paying commitment fees. The key deliverables are a digital immersion technology workshop, a 2-day workshop for IBM. We're working with COSTAT to bring about fundamentals of exporting, an import-export management workshop, the introduction to motion graphics, digital communication graphics, introduction to design graphics, the advanced certificate in process improvement, measurement, and management, a certificate in applied quality management program. In Tobago specifically, we're doing fundamentals of strategic planning, effective customer service delivery.
Okay,
We're developing an animation hub.
yeah.
And we also developing skills for global services. In that regard, we have signed letters of agreement with 6 firms, and that is Anime Carib Festival, Avasant TNT Consulting Limited, Coded Arts Limited, Fujitsu Caribbean Trinidad Limited, Lagoon Animation Studios Limited, Social Justice Foundation, and we're using the findings of a consultancy for the strategic analysis of the ITS sector, and this consultancy will give us an insight into the current landscape and opportunities for growth in this sector in Trinidad and Tobago through the collection and analysis of data We will also be having an identification of gaps and opportunities and the development of a sector map. We have a project team to be established comprising at least 1 project manager, 1 finance procurement manager, 2 project assistants who will be responsible for charting the way forward for global services under the leadership of the executive of the Ministry of Planning and Development. And in order to continue with this program, funding has been provided under the PSIP. And let me take the opportunity to say that we were able to bring Facebook to Trinidad and Tobago, and we had a big session with Facebook. And we also brought, we were supposed to get, what's his name? Anyway, not WhatsApp. We were supposed to get Apple. Apple was supposed to come to also interact with our young people. This has been a very successful project now that it has been rescoped and it is very focused.
Member for Carney Central.
I just want to mention to the Minister, all those things.
Is it a question question? Sorry.
No, I just want to say,
You can make a 5-minute intervention.
okay, in addition to what you're doing, which is fine, I mean, they're good things, right? Okay. Why don't you connect with some of the companies in Trinidad and Tobago that are in services to help them export?
Those companies that we mentioned, they're in Trinidad. Anime production is in Trinidad doing animation in several countries. No, we've connected with these companies and they're working with our people to ensure that they can export these services, and they've actually been doing it. As a matter of fact, we were able to pick, was it 6 companies, and they were able to go out of Trinidad and Tobago and see how it's done.
East.
Just to follow up on what Member for Chaguanas East asked on line item 100, which is the implementation of this after-school care. I heard what the minister is saying, that they're trying to establish these care centers within ministries as well and the places of work. What's your way forward in terms of identifying the environment and ensuring the infrastructure is good and ensuring the accreditation of the people who are going to be managing these daycare centers? Because there are 3, we did it, it took a year for us to do the ECC centers, where there were over 700 in Trinidad, and we accredited 200, and we developed a private sector, public sector partnership. How are you going to do this, and when you expect this to be completed for the care of these children 2 years and 3 years of age?
We're now in the process of rolling out this. So
Well, it's a good
I will have to
project,
come
but I
back
know
to you on that.
It's going to be long because you have to check the accreditation of the
Yes.
people involved teaching, the environment, and the infrastructure of the centers as well. It's going to take a while.
Okay? So, are we going? C, foreign and technical assistance. F, public buildings. B, administration. Infrastructure Development Fund, page 225, different book. Same book. You have it? 225. Item 003, economic.
It's fact bond. It's a fact.
It's the same book we had, huh? Okay. Item 003, economic infrastructure, pages 225 to 226. I'll just give members a little time to find the right page because of my misdirection. Are we there? Item 004, social infrastructure. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Honorable members, the question is that a sum of $302,454,000 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $302,454,000 for Head 67, Ministry of Planning and Development now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Madam P.S. and other members of your ministry. Okay, so members, before we take the suspension, I just wanted to, well, I see the whip is not here, but I don't know if the other members of the opposition in a position to say, having regard to what happened today, is it possible that if tomorrow we find ourselves in the same position, that we may wish to consider other ministries and bodies? We would have to know so that we will notify them. And we could take some easy ones like the Office of the President, Equal Opportunity Tribunal. Yeah. Yeah, so Whip, I was just inquiring, having regard to what has happened today. Nothing limits us to 8 heads. Whether it is that we are prepared to consider, because I was going to advise other ministries to come.
Dr. Tim.
So yeah, in terms of, even if just for not only tomorrow, but for the management of the other days, whether we would want to consider lining up other entities in the event we end up in a position like this. Okay, so what I wanted to suggest is that depending on the time, if we cover the entities tomorrow and we found ourselves in this position, that we may be able to take 2 or 3 of the smaller ones, like Equal Opportunities Tribunal, Office of the President. Thing is, we have to know so that we could put them on alert. We just can't do it ad hoc, in fairness to them.
I understand, Madam Chair, but tomorrow, I would not have an issue with that, let's say Monday. I know Tuesdays it would be the last day, but tomorrow we have something planned. I think both sides have something planned tomorrow. So, now, just to clarify, Madam Chair, that today, if things were being kept equal, it was supposed to have been a Saturday. That's why we had...
Yeah, but we knew since Tuesday that today wouldn't be Saturday. Right? We knew since Tuesday that today would not have been Saturday. And, you know, because we're on television, you know things that I know that I wouldn't say here. So don't make it appear that we didn't consider it. We knew today would not have been Saturday since Tuesday. Okay? It's just that, you know, in terms of us maximizing the benefit of the time, we find ourselves in this position.
No. Well, I hear you, Madam Chair, but we'll stick to the schedule as proposed.
Madam Chair, could I just indicate that even though we do have something else, something on tomorrow evening, we were willing to stay because we are not the only ones in our party. You know, our party is quite wide and deep. Motivated. So we would be willing to stay, but of course, this is the opposition's agenda. So.
Okay, but I would just want to say that, put everybody on notice. I think in the interest of time, I will still advise Equal Opportunity Tribunal and Office of the President, so that if it is that we find ourselves at 2 o'clock in a particular position, we may be able to take 2 little ones, which will take an hour. Okay? So the Standing Finance Committee is suspended to Friday the 18th of October, 2019 at 10 a.m.